And in tonight's special report, at least one Silicon Valley security expert says their use could put your personal information at risk.
I drove through here a few days ago, and in the space of about 20 minutes, cloned 2 passport cards.
Even on a blustery winter day, San Francisco's Fisherman's Wharf is filled with visitors, many of whom have passport cards. Chris Paget is a high-tech security expert who says many of those new passport cards have a small RFID computer chip in them, and that poses a huge problem. He says anyone with a few dollars and some computer savvy can read them.
It's all off-the-shelf equipment. All of this.
Paget is using this equipment to read RFID tags on passport cards as he drives through this world-famous tourist attraction.
All of this equipment, obviously the laptop I had already, but the reader, the antenna, the cabling that connects the two, it's all completely off the shelf, bought secondhand on eBay. And I paid $195 plus shipping.
Paget says he can remotely take the passport numbers off the chip, store them on his laptop, and then drop the numbers into a blank chip to use in a phony passport. And Paget says he can do even more, using the technology to identify people by face.
I can't tell you more about the owner of the passport card just from the RFID tag, but I can correlate it against other information. So if, for example, I had a digital camera pointed out of my back window, I could set that up so that the camera will take a picture anytime that the software sees a tag, and then if I see the same tag twice, I just look at the pictures and see who's in both pictures.
Now, before you jump up and call the police, you should first know that Paget was not breaking any federal or state laws simply by recording the data. And Paget emphasizes he's not doing this to steal anyone's identity or encourage terrorists. Quite the opposite, he says.
So I figured if I actually do this, if I do it in a real-world environment, do a practical demonstration of it, maybe it'll convince people to rethink these RFID systems in our identity documents.
The State Department says it's issued more than 800,000 documents with the chips in them since last July.
The notion that, because you can get the number, you can somehow drop it into a blank card is a little bit simplistic.
State Department official John Brennan downplays any security risks.
The card itself has many, many layers of security features in it. It's extremely difficult to manufacture. And those physical security features built into the card, both overt and covert, would be much, much more difficult to reproduce than simply the number on the chip. There's been testing done, and yes, we're confident that if you keep it in the sleeve, it can't be read by someone who just has a reader in the vicinity.
To look at it, you can't see an antenna in there anywhere. It doesn't say anywhere on it that it has RFID in it. It just says on the back that it should be kept in its protective sleeve when not in use. The reality of it is that it's got one of these things inside it, and you can read them at 20 feet away.
Paget says there are better alternatives to RFID chips, such as the so-called smart card technology used in credit cards and cell phones. At the very least, he suggests that some sort of power switch, better shielding, or stronger cryptography should be employed. The California Department of Motor Vehicles says it's not considering RFID chips, despite reports to the contrary. Last year, the New York State Department of Motor Vehicles started issuing driver's licenses with RFID chips. Washington State does as well. As for the passport card, security officials say the best way to protect yourself is simply not to get one. RFID, by the way, stands for radio frequency identification. We might also add that you will not find a chip in your old-fashioned paper passport, but only in the new credit card-sized passports issued for travel in North America and on sea cruises.